Am I good to go? I was waiting for the phone. Sweet. Alright, so my name is Vince. I'm in Mrs. Benet's oral communication class, and today I'm going to talk to you about caffeine. More specifically, the effects that overuse of caffeine can have on your body, and the imminent dangers it can possess. Caffeine's everywhere. You get it from coffee, you get it from energy drinks, you get it from tea. Those of you who eat chocolate, specifically dark chocolate, are probably getting, a couple cups worth of caffeine, a cup of coffee worth of caffeine. There's pretty much no escaping it. It's absolutely everywhere. But the better thing to understand is knowing how much caffeine is too much. So I'm going to go into perspective on that a little bit and elaborate on, some of the detrimental effects it can have from overconsumption. I'm going to start out with some numbers. On average, out of the entire U.S. population, caffeine is consumed by 31 kilograms per capita. For those of you who don't understand what kilograms are, that essentially converts to about 70 pounds an American. So if you can picture 70 pounds of pure white caffeine sitting in front of you, you probably average intaking that about a year. On a normal day, most of you probably get out of bed, you go, you get your cup of coffee, and you're not really you until you've had a couple minutes, you've got your caffeine, and that's essentially an addiction. It doesn't matter how severe it is, it's an addiction. Some of you may, I know I do, drive on the way to school, rush without eating breakfast, and stop at the gas station, grab a donut and a Rockstar. Rockstar alone has about 160 milligrams to 240 milligrams of caffeine, and you throw out another one of those, and statistically that's considered a caffeine addiction as well. Even in moderation, it has, negative effects, but I'm going to go through some specifics on, the more serious side effects of overconsumption of caffeine, starting with the fact that it's the world's largest psychoactive drug. This was a study done by the FDA, and it is followed by alcohol and tobacco, methamphetamines, heroin, but caffeine takes number one. So I'll let that sink in for a minute. The damage from overuse is pretty serious. The main effects that overuse of caffeine has mainly pertains to, sex organs, sexual function, chemical reactions in your brain, and the worst one, in my opinion, is your body's overall time clock. Men can suffer from decreased libido, women can suffer from infertility. That's caused by the fact that the caffeine is a stimulant, which gives abnormal muscular contractions of the fallopian tubes, which is, obviously it makes it a lot harder to get pregnant, and that statistic is at 27%. That was done at the University of Nevada School of Medicine. Caffeine's main side effect that dominoes the rest of them is vasoconstriction. Vasoconstriction basically constricts the blood vessels. It makes it harder for blood to flow through, and since again caffeine is a stimulant, your heart is pumping faster and faster and faster, and your body really has to fight to push blood through you, which can make anything from getting and holding an erection to sleeping to working out near impossible. That's another big one is for athletes. Pre-workouts are part of the supplement industry, and it's an enormous pre-workouts are overtaking the supplement industry, and if you ever take a pre-workout and you look at the ingredients, those average almost 300 to 400 milligrams of caffeine a serving. And if you're an athlete, I guarantee you don't take just one. It can also decrease testosterone. It reduces sperm production in the testes. I mean, it's got all sorts of negative effects. Another one is cortisol. Every morning at about 5 a.m., your body releases cortisol. What cortisol is it's a stress hormone. It goes through your body and it wakes up all your other organs, and your organs release insulin to break down stored sugars, and that's why you wake up and you're hungry. That's your body's natural wake-up call. So when you're addicted to caffeine, you're basically messing up your body's entire system, and it's throwing out of whack its entire routine. Which also leads me to say that if you are a heavy user of caffeine, you probably don't need it. It's probably just your body not knowing what the heck is going on. So lastly, I mean, I've quit caffeine for over a year now. I don't remember the last time I picked up a pop, and I feel great. But I'd like to give you guys some alternatives to caffeine. You don't have to completely cut it out, but I would really recommend just trying to eliminate it completely for a week and see how you feel. I know it's going to be difficult. It can lead to headaches. You know, there are withdrawal symptoms from caffeine because it is a drug. Just because it's legal, it doesn't make a difference. But these alternatives are, the first one being water. I don't know if you can see it, but water's a big one. A big glass of water in the morning can completely jumpstart your metabolism. Your body's 70% water. You know, all your organs function on water. That's the first thing that should be going in your body in the morning, not coffee. You'll feel much better. The second one, I don't know if you can see it again, is peppers. And peppers release they have a chemical called capsaicin. I think I pronounced that right. And when ingested, it ignites the body's fight or flight response. So, you know, that's where the sweating comes from, besides the fact that the seeds raise your internal body temperature. But the big one is that it initiates your fight or flight response. I mean, it's an enormous shock. You can just bite into a habanero sometime. Another big one, and I know that statistically speaking, half of you don't do this, but another big one is breakfast. Breakfast is more crucial than anything that I have talked to you about. It kickstarts your metabolism. It gives your brain the nutrients it needs to function properly. You know, complex carbs give you the energy that you need to go throughout the day without having to constantly rely on caffeine, numbing all of your normal senses. And last but not least is vitamins. If you absolutely cannot do anything that does not provide some sort of natural energy production and you want to stay away from caffeine, I would recommend vitamins. Those key vitamins being B12, B3, CoQ10, or even just a regular vitamin. B12 and B3 are both natural energy producers. CoQ10 is great. It regulates stress, it regulates blood pressure, it lowers cholesterol. I take CoQ10, helps you sleep better. And to trump all that, I would just take a regular multivitamin. The majority of people in America do not get their micronutrients from eating regular food. So that's another big factor. The point that I'm trying to make overall is that caffeine is completely swallowing America. I mean, it's been around since 1800s when Professor Runge was able to identify the pure form of it. But it's okay to have a couple cups of coffee. It really is. If you're dying to get in this last exam, or you're at work and you're told to stay an extra 3 hours, it's okay to have a cup of coffee. But just remember that when you're overusing caffeine, you're throwing your body's natural time clock out the window, and it's creating this huge domino effect on all of your other senses. So if you can take one point out of everything that I said today, it would be to please just watch what you're drinking, and the next time you decide to pick up a Rockstar or, you know, your third or fourth cup of coffee, just bite a pepper and drink some water and take a couple breaths, because I promise you don't need it as much as you need. Thank you.